Hello, my name is Kai and welcome back to another episode of me playing Planet Coaster while in fucking quarantine. So, today I thought of I had a very special idea, let's just put it like that. And my idea was to build an FSX coaster. An FSX coaster is it's a concept, I guess, kind of ride. Well, it's a new type of ride which is currently still under construction, though there are two projects of where it's getting built right now. It's made by Dynamic Attraction again, like the dual power coaster as well. And it is essentially a coaster which features a lot of switch track elements with like drops and other weird elements. I don't exactly know how to put it, but it's essentially very focused on more cinematic experiences, and so I thought it would be very fitting for a dark ride. And I got very inspired by some other creators and decided that I really wanted to create an Egyptian themed dark ride. Though I must admit that I'm not very far on creating the scenery. I pretty much only, semi-ish finished the station build. And I'm unsure if I'm going to make the scenery anytime very soon, again for the aforementioned reason of performance. As you can see, I chose the reverse freefall coaster cars for this coaster because it's actually the closest to the ones that are being used in the one that's being built in Malaysia. The trainers that are used in the one that's currently being built at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi are actually way more shorter and are actually kind of like the same length as a Eurofighter car, but in Malaysia they are just simply bigger with twice the rows. And there isn't a single car with that many rolls in there. I figured the closest thing was this reverse freefall coaster train, because it just simply looked very similar with this very big nose and the back. Also, it has a minor plus of having some guards at the side so you can't stick your hands out too far. Which is kind of nice because that means we have to keep even less in mind about clearance, which means that it essentially speeds up the building process for the scenery, though it will still take a long time and be quite annoying, as it always is with scenery in this game, at least in my opinion. As for the theme of this ride, I, as I said, wanted to make it like an Egyptian theme, like maybe like zoom rating, but I don't want to like glorify it like some more rides do with like these colonialist explorers being put up as the good guys. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Shams, and steal some stuff from the Egyptians. Dude, isn't colonialism great? Oh well, let's not get too political. So I wanted the cars to look a little bit like a off-roader, so I chose like this very like tan olive color, I guess, for the coaster, but I didn't really fit in too much theming as of now. Like what I put in there is actually what I ended up with in the end. As of now, it will definitely need a part 2. So what you've seen me construct, actually quite a while back, I just rumbled on for a bit, was a drop track, because these things of course feature these special elements with switch tracks and such, and one of them is a drop track, and I just think that it would be quite a nice start to a coaster to just have a small drop track and then get launched off backwards. I then just added a little bit of a coaster section. I wanted a very slow barrel roll with some good hang time. I think that's actually quite a cool thing. And I just quickly also added in a extension to the coaster track, because it should appear like you are still going to continue forward instead of dropping down. and I also tried to keep this all in 90-degree angles, everything, so it will be easier to see him, because first of all, it's way more easier to build like in this grid system around it if it's always in 90-degree angles from each other, the different parts of the tracks, and it's simpler to move things around with the tools in the game. What I built right there was a tilting section, and the idea essentially is that you're going to go backwards into the element, and then you're going to end up being tilted backwards, if you look essentially 90 degrees upwards, then forwards, then you look 90 degrees downwards, and then back to the track, and then continue on. And then you get launched, of course, forwards at that point, because you are exiting in the reverse direction, so you are going upwards again. And afterwards I struggled a bit, not knowing where I wanted the ride to go afterwards. But eventually I figured it out, and I just added a quick cube buffer here just as a reference to just know where it would have to go. I didn't go for this layout in the end, because it was just simply way too tight, and for these, well, with the scenery pieces and posts, they're always very big, and I didn't want to just have to cram everything in there, which wouldn't even be really possible in this game. So in the end section I changed my mind quite a bit, and I struggled quite a lot. I really wanted to add a, well, kind of like a sideways drop, sideways tilt element. I don't actually know what you would call it, but essentially one of the elements they have is that you're getting put on a track, and that track is then getting pushed to the side and downwards on a separate track. I think it's quite cool. I wanted to add next to the station, but it was just simply too tight, and in the end I changed it up. And at first I completely just canned the idea, and I just put in a turntable instead, but I just figured that it was quite boring, because the turntables are just not very interesting, and I think this sideways drop, I guess, is way more interesting for an element. So in the end I actually changed my mind, and this section I'm building right here with the turntable is actually getting rebuilt, though I actually wanted to rebuild it more because I thought the brake one was too short, which, well, turned out to be a happy coincidence, and I actually managed to get in the tilt drop, the sideways drop afterwards. So what I wanted to add afterwards then was the final launch, which was the forwards launch, into the outdoor section, because both coasters are mainly built indoors, but then have this one outdoor section. So I really wanted to also add one myself, and in the outdoor section and also in the indoor section, as you could have seen, I used this secondary track style, and it's also one of the reasons I used the Pre-Rails launch coaster, which has this very thick spine, because you can see on the real world models that they also have a very thick spine, though the ones in real life has this very like triangular spine, which is just simply not existent in the game, and it would be very hard to recreate with like arch shapes or whatever, so I just went for this spine. I think it actually fits quite well and looks quite good, especially with the supports I'm going to put on later. Here I really wanted to add a like non-inverting loop, well, I guess non-inverting half loop in that case, because I saw one on a, I think it was a Maura's Sona X car, a launch Maura's Sona X car actually, from Italy, can't quite remember the name, and I thought it looks actually quite cool, and I really wanted to add one. Alright, I actually just put the ride outside for a tiny bit, because I wanted to add the unload station. I actually wanted to create more scenery, but I ended up deciding against it, and I just quickly place it back again. I actually want a dual loading station and an unload platform, which I'm just going to fake by having the exit path essentially just go through the coaster with a hidden upward stair section under the track. And here you can see me start to work on the supports, and at first I wasn't quite sure how to do them properly, because I didn't quite know how to do the supports, the connectors. But in the end I again went for the instrument pack and found these really cool connectors, which are meant for like a 2-spine track, which is flipped on its side, and I think they look quite good. And I'm just going to cut it, as I always do with my supporting, because I think it's kind of boring. But it actually took like quite long, I think like an hour or something. And I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially with the very thick supports. Okay, there we go. I cut out the rest right there, and I just very quickly wanted to add just a tiny rail to indicate the drop track. For it, of course, because the drop track is on a separate rail, and also for the oh yeah, right. It was this moment that I decided to even put in the sideways tilt, of course, because you can just quickly see me here reshaping the entire thing, which I actually just wanted to change for the brake run into it, but I actually just realized that I could just do this element right here for the final launch, which I think actually fits quite well. So I just added that and then put the coaster rail through there as I planned. Other than that, I'm just quickly going to add the backwards launch section in there, because what I want to do obviously is fake it with the POV that it actually looks like you're going backwards. So just copy to right, and I very quickly just reverse the coaster and added a backwards launch at the end. And while this isn't going to be the only, second coaster, I won't be hiding in there to fake it with the camera. As of now, I haven't started working on the other ones, mainly because I'm still brainstorming a bit. So you're going to see some very pro effects in this POV right here. I hope you'll enjoy. So, see you afterwards. Alright, going back into the cinematics, I must say I really like how hidden this coaster is, that you don't really see all that much from it. I want to hide the entrance by putting it into a mountain and just like building like a pyramid or something above it, maybe like adding a temple entrance in the front, something like that. And while I didn't get that much done, I think again it was quite an resource-intensive coaster, and the station actually took way longer than it had any right to be. And I think that I might do something, well, less spectacular in the next episode, something more straightforward, because I actually thought about using this as like a standalone project, but I just think that putting it in the Spark would be a bit cooler. So take care, we'll see us in the next one. good day or good night. I'm out.